To Sir, with Love. Eustace Edward Ricardo Braithwaite, 1912 to 2016, known as E.R. Braithwaite, was a Guyanese-born British-American novelist, writer, teacher, and diplomat, best known for his story of social conditions and racial discrimination against black people. He was the author of one of the famous 1959 autobiographical novels, To Sir with Love. He also wrote a kind of homecoming about his tour of Africa, A Choice of Straws, a novel set in London, and Reluctant Neighbours, a memoir and treatise about racism. Braithwaite's numerous writings primarily deal with the difficulties of being an educated black man, a black social worker, a black teacher, and simply a human being who found himself in a set of inhumane circumstances. To Sir with Love is an autobiographical novel. The narrator is an engineer, but to make both ends meet, he accepts the job of a teacher in a rough London East End school. The school is full of troublemaker students who were rejected from other schools for their behavior. At last, at the beginning, the narrator is ridiculed and bullied by the student, but later his calm demeanor and desire to see them succeed gradually earn him their respect. Summary of the novel. To Sir with Love is a work of fiction based on the life of author E.R. Braithwaite. The main character E.R. Braithwaite works as an engineer in an oil refinery. He served in the Royal British Air Force in the war. After the war, being a black person, he was unable to find employment. As a last resort, he applied in a school to become a teacher. Surprisingly, he is accepted at the Green Slate School in London's East End and is set to teach the senior classes of the school. While reading the novel, we have to understand that the time period in which the story takes place is very important. Braithwaite finds that even though he considers himself British and has served in the Royal Air Force, the English do not consider him to be one of them. This leads Braithwaite to feel bitter about the English and colonialism, as well about his white students. Braithwaite's teaching position starts out roughly and is embarrassed time and again. He considers his student disrespectful, ill-mannered and mischievous, while his student considered him to be an arrogant outsider, unfamiliar with the social environment in which they have grown up. The students harass him from day one, slamming their desks during his lecture, using foul language and bullying him to a great extent. Even the girl students do not spare a moment to harass Braithwaite. In a reaction to that, Braithwaite verbally scolds the girl for acting in an unladylike manner and being unruly in the class. When he understands that his outburst has not gained him any respect and cooperation from the students, he changes his teaching and handling tactics, and he decides to interact with them as though they are adults and respectable persons. He requires every girl be referred to as Miss and that his students call him Sir. At first, the students find this level of deference ridiculous and unnecessary. However, they come around after only a few weeks, completely changing both their hygiene and their attitudes towards one another. This marks the success of Braithwaite in handling the students in a very amicable way. To increase the class cultural exposure, he takes them on field trips and excursions to museums and theatres. To everyone's surprise, many of the students have never been. A white female teacher, Gillian Blanchard, accompanies the class on these excursions. This marks the beginning of a friendship between Blanchard and the Braithwaite. Similarly, Braithwaite's relationship with his student is tested many a times. Although his students frequently disappoint and hurt him, he learns to forgive them. The students constantly surprise him with their maturity, empathy, and knowledge. Another facet of the story which greatly affects its narrative lies in the heavy history of colonialism, its dark consequences, mental and physical trauma that increases Braithwaite's hatred and wrath for British. He constantly feels the prejudicial effects of colonialism while living in England after World War II, and these negative experiences frequently shape his thoughts and action. Braithwaite is surprised and shocked by the conditions in which these students live and also the physical trauma of the war that can be seen throughout his teaching environment. Theme of the novel: students-teacher relationship, prejudice and racism are the major themes of the novel. E.R. Braithwaite gets a job of a teacher in a rather rough and notorious school. He finds that the students belong to a background that is not suitable for learning and their overall development and progress. He notices that the students are in no mood to change their attitude and behavior. Braithwaite, with his novel and creative ideas, innovative technique and understanding the student psychology, ultimately wins their heart in no time. Though he was bullied, harassed, mentally and physically tortured many times, he didn't lose his patience and continued implementing his novel ideas and techniques that help him to bring a significant change in his students' lives.